Hello, everyone. Welcome into Deacon's NFL Talk. I'm your host, Deacon, and welcome back to another episode on the channel, episode 47. And this week is going to be a jam-packed episode. Not only do we have 9 topics this week, but we have 4.5 pages of quick hits to get to, which is going to be, I don't know how I'm going to fit that in 2 minutes. And then obviously this week we are starting signings and cuts. We're starting signings and cuts again. This week though was really quiet. We only had 5 signings and a couple cuts this week. Then we're starting a new segment called Historical Highlight. This segment is a highlight that happened the day of or the week of this episode. But we're going to replace historical with hysterical highlight. So that's what we're going to do. I'll get to that in a bit. And then we have one question of the week, and that would sum up the episode. This is Deacon's NFL Talk. Alright, everyone, we're going to jump right into this one. So we are going to start off not with the first topic, but we are actually going to start with the main topic. So we're going to start doing that every episode. So we're going to start off with the main topic this week, and that is Myles Garrett is not interested in signing an extension with the Cleveland Browns. This is something that really doesn't come to me as a surprise, but since it's Myles Garrett and it's as big as of a topic as it is, it's going to be the main topic of the week compared to the other ones, which there are some good topics this week. But this really does not come to me as a surprise after he requested a trade a month ago, stating that he wants to win a Super Bowl, which to me, that really doesn't shock me. I'm not surprised that he wants to. I mean, every player, like when they were, I don't know, when they were like, I've heard 10 years old, I've heard 6 years old, however young they were, when they watch football, they want to win the Super Bowl. Okay, like it's not they didn't like. I'm pretty sure Myles Garrett said he didn't want to come to the NFL to play for Cleveland and go to Canton. He wanted to play to go win a Super Bowl. And the Browns had a shot a few years ago, and obviously they weren't favored. Or they didn't even get anywhere close to the Super Bowl. But I mean, yeah, I feel like there's really good landing spots right now. I've heard that he likes what Jane Daniels does with the Commanders, so we'll see. I think the Commanders are definitely a legitimate landing spot for Myles Garrett. We will see though which team he will land with. I mean, because during the NFL Combine, Browns GM Andrew Berry said he had no desire to trade Myles Garrett, and then literally like a day or so later, he says he doesn't want to stay with Cleveland. So really, I'm not that surprised. The Browns honestly are not a good franchise. I mean, I'm not. They aren't really a winning culture. They really were never just like a winning culture there. I mean, they were just kind of the Browns, the team that really doesn't win that often. And yeah, I mean, anytime you go to the Browns, like you hope. I mean, Myles Garrett, he's literally quite the reason the Browns are better than what they were. I mean, if the Browns did not have Myles Garrett right now, or in 2024, then the Browns would be much worse in their record. I think they would have the number 1 pick in the draft. Because, I mean, you could make an argument that, yes, the Browns do have really good young talent. It's not translating on the field. I mean, they have some pieces there. I mean, they're not the best pieces in the world, but they are really good pieces that have potential as well. So, I mean, and that is a good thing, but it's also another thing to actually start winning. I feel like the Browns also might need a little bit more veteran presence as well. I mean, Jerry Jeudy going to the offensive side of the ball, I mean, he looked really good. So I feel like adding like a Travis Hunter in the draft would be really good as well. But this is what caught my eye. The Lions edge rusher, Aiden Hutchinson, said him and Garrett talked about the possibility of becoming teammates. So that's actually big. I mean, obviously with the Lions' injury history the past few years, I mean, it would make sense, like 100%, to see Garrett go to the Lions. I really don't see that happening though, only because they have a whole bunch of other pieces there. I mean, that they're making a lot of money. But I really just don't see Myles Garrett going to the Lions. I feel like Commanders are a legit option right now. If I had to think at the top of my head what the number 1 team would be right now, I'd say probably the Commanders, only because I haven't really looked into the potential landing spots. I feel like we might see him be traded around the draft. I feel like it's around this time like from right now to the draft is where he's going to trade it. It's either sometime in March, like mid-March. If it's not in mid-March, it's probably going to be during the draft. I mean, he's put up 102.5 sacks since 2017, which is the second most in that span. So I mean, there's no question about how good he is. I mean, we put him on a good team, and it's terrifying. Like, pair him up with an Aiden Hutchinson. Like, if we could name like the top edge rushers to pair up with Myles Garrett, it'd be like Aiden Hutchinson, Micah Parsons. That's really good. I mean, there's a bunch of really good edge rushers that could pair up with him out there. And honestly, I've heard some Patriots things too. I've heard the Patriots are a legitimate option as well. I think the Commanders is where he'll likely go. If it's not the Commanders, I feel like it could be the Lions if they actually are in the conversation. Only because I just heard Aiden Hutchinson and him were talking about being teammates. But as of right now, I'm saying the Commanders, only because they just started winning and they're not going to start losing anytime soon. So we're going to go through these next topics a little bit faster because, I mean, we still have 8 more topics to get through, and then we have so many quick hits. We just have a big episode this week. The next topic is Cowboys have not started contract talks with Micah Parsons. This is honestly something that's not very good news if you're a Cowboys fan. But I mean, they're not necessarily in a rush, only because they picked up his 5th-year option last offseason. So, I mean, they're not necessarily in a rush, but, I mean, they got to pay him at some point because, like I said, he's one of the best edge rushers in the league. Like I said, if you pair him with Myles Garrett, it's terrifying. But we're not talking about Myles Garrett anymore, okay? We're talking about Micah Parsons. I mean, with the cap increasing, it could help Dallas a little bit to retain their star players. And when I say a little bit, they quite literally have roughly $2.5 million in cap space, which is horrible. That is bad. Like, I don't know how it gets worse than that. That is probably the worst, other than the Saints, I guess. I think the Saints have, like, negative millions. I don't know how many. How much cap space do the Saints have? I want to see how much they have. It's honestly, it's better than the Cowboys. I was shocked when I saw the Saints number. I think it's the Saints negative. The Saints have negative $47 million in cap space. That is bad, dude. But we're not talking about the Saints right now. But anyway, but yeah, $2.5 million is not gonna help you pay Micah Parsons, unless you cut somebody. Obviously, this is a topic before free agency has even started, so we could see, like, I don't know, somebody go. I was going to say Dak Prescott, but then I realized that's just not going to happen. But, I mean, I guess they are working out or trying to work out another deal with one of their star players or whatever. It's just like, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Osa Odighizuwa. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but they're aggressively working to re-sign him as well. I just don't know how you sign him and Micah Parsons. Like, I don't know how that's even possible. I mean, sure some of you might be like, well, how is signing T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Trey Henderson possible? Well, the Bengals have more cap space than the Cowboys do, and I just really don't see. Like, I would not be shocked though if Dallas actually took an edge rusher in this year's draft, whether that's in the first round or later. But the yearly average at his position is around $30 million, and so $2.5 million in cap space is not going to cut it. So, I mean, yeah, I forget what edge rusher is making $30 million. There's somewhere in that range. I can't remember. But yeah, anytime you have as much cap space as the Cowboys do, it's going to be hard to not only sign their other defensive linemen, but also sign a Micah Parsons or whoever they're trying to re-sign this season. They are lucky. They are very fortunate that they signed CD last year. I mean, honestly, why did we sign Dak Prescott to this multi-million-dollar deal? If Dak Prescott is taking up most of the money that this franchise has, and it was a really dumb decision. Like, the thing is, you could say, oh, why don't you just cut him or trade him? But that actually takes a big paycheck out of the Cowboys' wallet. So that's really not something the Cowboys want to do now. I would say draft a quarterback in this year or next year's class. And then that way, once Prescott's contract runs out, then you can, cut him and you don't have to pay as much money or whatever. But, I mean, the Parsons could take the same approach CeeDee Lamb took by holding out a training camp, which I would not be surprised if he did whatsoever. I mean, I feel like he acts like he likes Dallas, I feel like. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm not a Cowboys fan. But I just feel like he wants out of Dallas so bad. I just feel like he does not want to be with the Cowboys. Is it just me? Like, last season was hard for him, obviously. Whenever the Bengals beat him and the Cowboys were out of the playoffs, like, he walked off the field before the game was even over. And so, like, yeah, anytime, like, that happens, like, I'm not just speaking like that. That's not the only reason I think he's tired of Dallas. But I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like he's not really happy there. I don't know. The Cowboys really just don't have a good front office or anything. I mean, anytime you have Jerry Jones as your general manager, well, you're a coach. You're not getting anywhere. But anyway, we're going to go into the third topic. The Rams are set to restructure Matthew Stafford's contract to maintain the veteran quarterback in Los Angeles. This is actually something that popped up about yesterday afternoon. So this is a very new topic. But the Rams reportedly did not want an aging quarterback. A few months, I forget when they said that, but they didn't want an aging quarterback when they said they'd be fine with sticking with Jimmy Garoppolo of all people. I'm not even kidding. The Rams quite literally said they'd be comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo for the year. Like, just how? You cannot, like, Jimmy Garoppolo is much worse than Matthew Stafford is. I have nothing against Jimmy Garoppolo, but Matthew Stafford is better. They are similar in age, I believe. But I mean, Matthew Stafford, like, sure, he's making much more money, and Jimmy Garoppolo would be, like, easily more affordable than what Matthew Stafford is making. He was set to make $49.6 million this year, but with the restructured contract, that's going to change. I don't think they've announced how much money he's making yet, because I've looked into this a little bit, and I have not seen how much money he's going to make. Yeah, it's not official yet. I guess no one really knows how much money he's going to be making or what his new contract looks like. So no one really knows about that yet. So we will see probably in the not too distant future. But, I mean, this is something the Rams need to do. Restructuring, which means he's probably going to be the starting quarterback. But if they're doing this just to put Garoppolo in for whatever reason, that would be absolutely ridiculous. I mean, Stafford thought about retirement after this season, but he said he envisions playing several more years. Anytime you see that out of a 36-year-old, that's really good. I mean, honestly, he's not slowing down either. I mean, sure, there's maybe some moments where he looks like he's old, but he's not Aaron Rodgers. I feel like I said that last week. But, I mean, the Steelers, Browns, Raiders, and Giants showed interest in Stafford. There was one thing that a team was, like, really interested. It was like the Steelers were unlikely to meet Stafford's demands. Like, he wasn't able to pay that much money. But I don't know where it went or what it was. But, yeah, I mean, this is something the Rams that I feel like they needed to do. Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to work out. So we're going to go through, like I said last topic, I lied. But we're going to try and go through these last few topics quickly. The NFL is mulling 2 kickoff rule changes and 1 major onside kick change. This is something that the onside kick one is pretty strange, so I'll get to that. The one change is after a touchback. Instead of starting at the 30-yard line, they'd move it up to the 35-yard line after a touchback. They're also considering moving the football from the 35 to the 30-yard line for kicks. So that, yeah, they're trying to make more returns happen, I guess, when really the first year did not work out. I mean, last season the NFL recorded the second lowest kick return rate since 2000, despite there being 332 returns, which is more compared to 2023. But it's one thing to say lowest of all time. It's one thing to say that there's more than the previous year. It's another to say that it's the second lowest since 2000. So, I feel like this dynamic hybrid kick, whatever you want to call it. I don't really know what you call it anymore. It's just funky looking. I mean, it's like, what was that one indoor football league? I believe they do that. They kick the ball off and they wait and then go. There's that one football league that does that. I can't. It wasn't the XFL. I don't think. I don't remember. But I mean, can we just go back to the old kickoff rules? I mean, this is like really confusing. Like, it's hard to. Trust me. I'll get to the onside kick in a bit. It's not even. I'll give you a hint before we get into the onside kick topic. But the onside kick won't even be an onside kick anymore. Okay, that's all I'll say for now. But I just don't understand. Like, just take it. I mean, sure. I mean, player safety is obviously important, but like the NFL makes it so important. Like, can we go back to the days where where we used to watch like the Legion of Boom and like Ray Lewis and like Brian Dawkins, is that his name? I don't remember. But can we go back to those days, like the hard hitting plays? I mean, not saying that those didn't um, have penalties that came with it, but like those were like the good days. Like whenever you actually get to hit somebody, those were the good days. But to the onside kick now, but for the onside kick, the NFL thought of replacing it with a 4th and 15 or a 4th and 20, where a team would get one play to get the needed yardage instead of the kick, which in 2024 saw 3 out of 42 onside kicks recovered by the kicking team. I don't know if that really made sense, because just reading that kind of makes my brain hurt. It's not even an onside kick anymore, and I think it's just flat out stupid. Like, sure, the onside kick is like really hard to do if you're the kicking team, and this would obviously help with that. But like, can you imagine? Like, you have Patrick Mahomes on the other side when you're that defense. You have a Joe Burrow on that other side. You have a Josh Allen. You have a Lamar Jackson. If you're the defensive side of the ball, this is terrifying. If you're a defensive coordinator or you're a defensive coach in the NFL, this is terrifying. Because if you're that defense, if this actually happens, and you're the defense and you see Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, all these really top tier quarterbacks on the other side, good luck. I mean, this is something where the defense is hoping they get to see like a below average quarterback, because if you're like I said, this is gonna be the third time, if you see like any of these quarterbacks, this is terrifying. But on March 30th through April 2nd, the NFL will vote on the changes, and they must get 24 votes at least for it to pass through. So we will see if this actually happens. I think it's quite stupid in my opinion. I don't like this idea. I really just don't. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It just ruins the point of the onside kick. I mean, if we're going to keep the onside kick, let's make it a little bit more doable for the kicking team. Outside of that, don't change it. Anyway, we're going to go to the next one. The Bills are re-signing wide receiver Khalil Shakir to a 4-year, $60.2 million deal. This is actually big news for the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, they really don't have a receiver that's top tier. I mean, Amari Cooper, he's got a good – he was good with the Browns, and he had his good years, but really he did not do much whenever he went to the Bills. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously this is not saying that the Bills still need to not saying that the Bills don't need a wide receiver in the draft anymore, because in my opinion, I still think that they do. Shakir isn't a top tier wide receiver, but he's solid for Josh Allen. He's Josh Allen's number one target. I mean, the deal includes $32 million guaranteed at signing, and will get paid $18 million in the first year. So, yeah, like I said, this isn't something where like, oh, the Bills have their wide receiver now, they don't need to target one anymore. Amari Cooper's contract expires this year, I believe. I mean, there's still plenty need to get a wide receiver. I mean, Shakir is locked up in Buffalo through 2029, and he finished 2024 with 76 receptions for 821 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like I said, that is not above average, but it is pretty good, especially for him coming out of absolutely nowhere. He's talented. He has a high ceiling, I feel like. But, I mean, yeah, even though Buffalo extended Shakir, they'll still need more talent at the position. We'll see what they do with that talent. We're going to go through this next topic quickly because we're getting over the NFL news time. Colts general manager Chris Ballard says Anthony Richardson will have competition for starting quarterback. This is something that really doesn't come as a surprise. Going into 2024, I had Anthony Richardson being as the 7th best quarterback in the league. He has a high ceiling, okay? He has a very, very low floor. But if he can get to that ceiling, look out. He's going to be really good. Richardson was drafted at 20 years old and just 13 games in college. That's the reason why he really is not what he's playing to. I mean, he was really raw coming out of college. So, I mean, this really doesn't come as a surprise. Like, he played just 13 games in college for Florida. Like I said, his ceiling is extremely high, But like we're seeing right now, his floor is extremely low. So if you can get like a veteran presence around him, I'm not saying that Joe Flacco is going to work out because it really hasn't helped him at all. But if we can get like, let's say minority owner Tom Brady was actually with the Colts instead of the Raiders, I feel like that would actually help Richardson out. I'm not saying that Brady is going to help Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward out, but just an idea. I mean, Richardson has battled injuries throughout his 2-year career and was even benched for a couple of games this season, replaced by Joe Flacco, who in my opinion is not better than Anthony Richardson, and we kind of saw that. I mean, they put Flacco in there, he didn't look any better. But I mean, Indianapolis will start the offseason with roughly $35.3 million in cap space, which should be enough to add competition through free agency. So whether they do that with a Sam Darnold, a Russell Wilson, a Daniel Jones, a Justin Fields, or even Mac Jones for some reason, they could still target guys through trade as well, like a Kirk Cousins or Joe Milton, who the Patriots said they want to trade. Joe Milton, look out. I feel like he can be a really good quarterback with weapons. Like if that Bills game, sure the Bills had their backups in, but I like Joe Milton. I feel like you guys need to watch out. I feel like he can make a big shakeup if he can get a really top tier offense. But yeah, there's obviously a lot of options that Colts could go in. I feel like most likely Sam Darnold is like 1,000% the favorite to go to the Raiders right now. Russell Wilson is a favorite for the Raiders as well. And Justin Fields, like, he's favored to go to the Giants, and we'll see how that goes. But I feel like right now, the most likely option is probably like a Daniel Jones or a Mac Jones, because Justin Fields, Wilson, and Darnold, there's no way they're going to want to go to the Indianapolis or beat out the teams that they're favored to go to. Russell Wilson could make sense only because he's like likely going to go to the Raiders, but Sam Darnold's the one ahead of him. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see how it shakes up, but we're going to go on. We have we have about 3 more topics to get to. We're going to go through these fast. 49ers grant Deebo Samuel permission to seek a trade. This is big news. The Niners general manager John Lynch said they are going to honor his request for a trade. The 49ers were looking into trading Samuel last season during the draft. Obviously last year there was some things that he was going to get traded. But Samuel became the first player since 1966 to generate 4,000 receiving yards and 1,000 rush yards. He also led the NFL in yards after catch for 4 years in a row from 2020 to 2023 until Samuel fell off. He also is the only wide receiver in the NFL history to run for 20 rush touchdowns. Like I said, however, this past season he dropped off, hauling in just 51 catches for 670 yards and 3 touchdowns, and on the ground he had just 136 rush yards and 1 touchdown. Not Deebo Samuel numbers. I mean, we all remember how like he was complaining about not getting the ball, and then the game when he got the ball, he dropped it multiple times. So yeah, he enters the final year of a 3-year, $71.55 million deal. I feel like the Rams, I've heard that they are actually a really good spot for him. I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of wide receiver needy teams. I mean, the Patriots could make a little bit of sense. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he went to the Patriots, to be honest, because the Patriots need a wide receiver, and the Patriots actually said that they're taking themselves out of the market for T. Higgins. So that's good news for Bengals fans, and we will see which direction the Patriots go in, and we'll see which direction the 49ers will go in. The NFL potentially applying postseason overtime rules into the regular season. This is something that kind of needed to happen last year. But in the postseason, each team possesses the ball once, at least once. In 2024, the team that won the coin toss in overtime won 12 out of 16 with just 11.6 plays per overtime, which is the second fewest in the past 20 years. And since 2017, the team that won the coin toss went 67, 44, and 7. The NFL is looking to put those rules into the regular season, which I feel like this is something that it needs to happen just to make it less confusing. Like, we don't need to worry about like you're a playoff team, like, oh, regular season overtime rules in the playoffs. Kind of like what the 49ers did in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Like, they didn't know that they changed the overtime rules in the playoffs, or the postseason, I should say. They didn't know that, so they actually received the ball instead of deferring. So that was a mistake there, and yeah, I feel like they just need to change the regular season ones as well. Last one, the Chiefs are expected to franchise tag offensive guard Trey Smith and hopes to work out a long-term deal. This is really good news for Chiefs fans and the Chiefs overall. I mean, if he plays for the tag, he'd make $23.4 million guaranteed in a one-year deal. The rest of Kansas City's offensive line is making $70 million plus. So they're making, I believe the lowest one their starting offensive lineman is making is like $72 or $73 million. So Trey Smith is definitely going to be above that range, in my opinion. Smith earned his first Pro Bowl nod this year. He tied his teammate Joe Tooney for most pass blocking snaps without a sack with a 665. That is a big number. And Smith also played 67 out of 68 games in his full-year career. So that's actually crazy. At least he can stay healthy. That's a good thing. It's one thing to be good and hard to stay healthy. It's another thing to be pretty good and stay healthy. I mean, that didn't really make sense, but you get what I'm saying. We're going to go to quick hits because we're going to be way over time in this episode. I can just feel it because, I don't know, I just have that gut feeling in me. But anyway, we're going to go on to quick hits. We're going to start up the 2-minute timer. I don't know how I'm going to read through all of these, honestly, because we have 4.5 pages. So I'm going to attempt to do this. I'm 0-1 or so since the last time that I did this. So we're going to try and do it here. We're going to do it now. Jaguars hired Director of College Football Scouting James Gladstone as GM. Gladstone was announced as the team's GM on Friday. The Jaguars had 4 other options as well. James replaces Trent Baalke, who they fired more than a month ago. Eagles edge rusher Nolan Smith to undergo torn tricep surgery. Smith tore his triceps in Super Bowl LAX, but played through it. Smith finished the year 6.5 sacks for 42 tackles and 11 quarterback hits in 10 games. Smith is expected to return in 2025. Free agent safety Keanu Neal retires after 8 seasons. Neal played for the Falcons, Cowboys, Buccaneers, and Steelers. The 29-year-old finished his career with 523 tackles, 22 tackles for loss, 11 quarterback hits, 8 forced fumbles, 2.5 sacks, and 4 interceptions in 89 games played. Steelers interested in bringing in Nick Chubb. Chubb has dealt with 2 season-ending injuries the last 2 years, a knee and a foot injury. Chubb is set to be a free agent this offseason. Broncos linebackers coach Michael Wilhoit is arrested. He's accused of a second-degree assault of an officer and has coached the Saints, Chargers, and Broncos. Browns guard Joel Bitonio still thinking about retirement. He has dealt with several injuries throughout his career, and Bitonio says his health will play a role in his decision, and he said his decision will come soon. Packers say they want the tush push to be banned. The tush push is so effective that Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts was tied for 5th in rushing touchdowns with 14. The tush push will be a topic in March for the league meeting. Commanders give Jonathan Allen permission to seek a trade. Allen is entering the final year of his contract. Allen tore his pectoral muscle, which ended his season after 8 games. Free agent offensive lineman Jason Peters will join Seahawks front office. He retired. Peters played in the NFL for 21 years, earning 9 Pro Bowls and won a Super Bowl with the Eagles in 2017. Peters played for the Bills, Eagles, Bears, Cowboys, and Seahawks. His last snap came in 2023. Travis Kelce will return for 13th season. Kelce thought about retirement after the Super Bowl loss to the Eagles, and Chiefs GM Brent Veach said that Kelce is fired up about playing on the final year of his contract. Travis slowed down 2024 compared to previous seasons with 97 catches, 823 yards, and 3 touchdowns in his regular season, which are career lows since his rookie season. That timer ended a while ago. I was still trying to get to the Travis Kelce topic. How many do we have? We had 4 more left. I feel like we had the same amount last week. But yeah, back to the Packers one. The Packers want the tush push banned? Bro, complain about it. Stop whining that they can do it better than everyone else. Like, I don't want to hear it, dude. That play is literally supposed to be in rugby. I mean, sure, players blah, 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 player safety. The NFL was like, the player safety is questionable on that play, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, it's fine. It's the brotherly shove. Let it stay, dude. Like, just because they do it better than you and everyone else doesn't mean you got to come out and complain about it. So I don't want to hear it. We're going to read off these 4 more. Then we'll get to, what is it next? Signings and cuts. So we'll get to that. The FBI is investigating Bucs running back Rachaad White for extortion attempt. Right now, there's currently not a lot of information surrounding this topic, so I'll get to that maybe someday at some point. The Titans are granting Harold Landry permission to seek a trade. Landry has signed a 5-year deal in 2022. Since tearing his ACL a few years back, he's tallied just 19.5 sacks the last 2 years. And if Tennessee trades him before June 1st, they take on $13.1 million in dead money, and if they wait until after, they'd save $10.95 million against the cap this season. Patriots give defensive tackle Devon Godchaux permission to seek a trade. Godchaux has $8.33 million in cap hit left from his extension last season, and the 30-year-old finished the year with 67 tackles and no sacks. Last one, top prospect in the draft, Abdul Carter, avoids a serious foot injury and will not undergo surgery. This isn't just like a regular injury. No, this is actually a stress reaction in his foot, which could have sidelined him for 8 weeks, and that's a big injury. We'll see if that affects his draft stock. And Carter, he says he will work out for his pro day March 28th. So we will see if that affects his draft stock at all. In my current mock draft right now, here's a little sneak peek. I'm going to do that a couple weeks before the draft starts. Right now, I've only been through 7 picks. I'm working on the Panthers right now. But I have Abdul Carter going to the Titans right now. We'll see how that changes after the offseason, though. But anyway, we're going to go on to signings. The Raiders signed safety Isaiah Polameo. 49ers signed offensive lineman Ben Barch. Browns signed corner Anthony Kendall. Dolphins signed corner Ryan Cooper Jr. And the Eagles signed running back Lou Nichols III. The Browns cut Juan Thornhill and long snapper Charlie Huglett. And the Lions cut linebacker Jalen Reeves-Maybin. I sound a little bit stuttery on those because I haven't done roster moves in forever. But anyway, we're going to go to historical highlight. Like I said, new segment we're going to be starting to do every now and then if we find a historical highlight that happened on this day or the week of this episode. But instead of calling this one historical highlight, we're actually going to call this one hysterical highlight because this is one of the funniest moments in Combine history. If you have not seen this, you got to see this. This was Teron Johnson in 2018 or something like that. I forget when it was, but it was a while ago. This is his combine or whatever. He was doing a wide receiver drill, and this is how it ended up. I'm gonna play it right here. Catches the ball. He didn't really look. He didn't really know where the ball was. He just got nailed in the head and finished the drill. I mean, you could see like everyone else, like his slow motion, like just gets nailed in the head. That is honestly like that would be like really humiliating. To be him at that point. But I'm sure he's sitting back and laughing at it now because that is funny. I actually never knew that until like last week or so. I actually never knew that actually happened. But that is funny. So this segment is going to be a short segment about a historical or hysterical highlight, if you want to call it that. It's not going to be called hysterical highlight every week. I just thought it'd be funny to call it hysterical highlight. But anyway, that is that. This actually might be a shorter episode than I thought it was going to be because, I don't know, I guess shorter than what I anticipated. But question of the week was, if you are a first-round draft pick, should you participate in the Combine? Okay, before we get to that, I almost forgot. Before we get to that, we're going to get to the quiz. This week was how many teams were there in 2003 which had some sort of animal in their names. Guess what? I did it again. That's 2 times in the past month that I've actually beat you guys on a quiz. I actually cannot believe that. I might consider doing another quiz that might be a little bit too hard. I don't know, though. There might be some superhero nerds out there. But anyway, this was huge because, I mean, I feel like I never beat you guys on these quizzes. But if you guys get confused about me saying beating you guys, basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get you guys to guess the wrong answer more than the right answer so I can get it right. I'm pretty sure I only have like 3 or 4 times I've done that out of like 30 plus quizzes. But anyway, 15, 20%, 11, 20%, 13, 24%, and 12, 36%. So 12 makes sense, but it is what it is. Anyway, now we're going to go to the question of the week. And if you are a first-round draft pick, should you participate in the Combine, yes or no? You guys, it was a landslide. Like an absolute slaughter of a choice. Yes, 86%. No, 14%. This really, honestly, I thought it'd be a lot closer than this because sure, there was some comments that said, like, you have to show you're committed and why not try and break some records. And those were for, like, the yes ones. For the no, he said, someone said, it's like it doesn't matter about the drills. It just matters about what you do on the field, which makes it 100%. And yeah, I mean, like, the thing is, if you were, like, let's say you're Shador Sanders, and if you go to the combine and you actually absolutely do horrible, like, that's the thing. If you're a top prospect like Shador Sanders and you do really bad in the combine, you might drop in the draft a bit if you want to be a top pick. So that's why I feel like no is actually this question is more debatable than what you guys think. Because, yeah, I mean, if your draft stock is like Shador Sanders or Cam Ward's, what do you have to prove, really? It's like you can't go up anymore. You can only go down. That's the thing. If you do bad at the combine, you're only going to go down. But if you don't, your draft stock's going to remain the same instead of going up even further. I mean, unless you're a Shador Sanders, and I think Cam Ward is the best quarterback in this draft, unless you're a Shador Sanders and you want to try and be the better quarterback than what Cam Ward is, even if he did participate. But here's this list of the top players that aren't participating. Shador Sanders, Travis Hunter. I believe Hunter is going to run the 40. Abdul Carter, Ashton Genty, Mason Graham. He's only going to do a bench press or something, and Will Johnson. So those are some really good prospects going into this year's class that aren't participating in the combine. But I think all of them are going to participate in their pro day, because I feel like that seems to be a trend here where all of them are participating in their pro day. That's not really doesn't come to shock to me. Before we end this week's episode, we're going to see if we have any more. I guess we are going a little bit over time this week. I'm not seeing anything new. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. So that is the episode this week. If you enjoyed, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell to get notified of every single upload this channel makes. Check out last week's episode where I talked about not only Zach Martin retiring, but a bunch of other topics. It was around the same timeline as this week's episode, but I highly suggest you guys check that one out. And yeah, next week, hopefully we can get another segment in, like a new segment, but we will see. Signings and cuts is still going to be the same. But anyway, I'll see you guys next week for another great episode on Deacon's NFL Talk.